Welcome back to KCZIN. Go to the website, become a supporter of kczin.com, and let's keep this message of self-independence alive. So here we are as a people, the Mahali Party, which a lot of people are trying to get a better understanding of what that actually means. And of course, they're trying to make some comparisons for themselves when it comes to going to the election box and voting as to which way they should vote. Should they continue to vote Democrat, maybe Republicans, and now you have the amazing option of the Mahali Party. So let's go back and get a better feel and understanding who the Mahali Party is, something that you may not be familiarized with. So the Mahali Party is a party that has adopted the name of what our people have upheld in terms of what they thought to be an idea coming directly from God to have and establish our own independent nation. The key Swahili word of Mahali, which literally means promised land. So this is the fundamentals behind the Mahali Party, forming our own nation. Ultimately, that is the goal. However, there's a process to get to that. And of course, we're using the political process to actually attain what is attainable, having our own independent nation. So let's go back and get some comparisons so we have something sustainable to think about when it comes to going to the ballot and how we choose to vote. Now, truly, I'm not going to go into the American history because the pro-American history, it's all over the place. It's been taught to you as a child, even from the school system. And this is something that they have propelled because America supports that. However, Mahali has a whole different perspective. You don't find that anywhere in any of their books. So I'll give you a quick rundown. Mahali Party has always been pro-independence. Forming our nation is a critical component of what we want to attain. So when you do compare them, for example, the political party of Mahali, and of course the Democrats or even Republican Party, there's not going to be any correlation. So this is where you have to dive in and get better understanding of Mahali. So the best comparison I'm going to give you is perhaps one of the latest ones. You got to go back to the year 1906 or 1908. So this is early in the history of the 20th century. And as you can tell, around that time period, just a few years later, maybe a decade or so, is when we start talking about some of the things that people talk about even today. And I'm referring to a community of just a few blocks called Greensville in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's a community that was starting to develop. And of course, we already know the history as to how it came to an end in the 1920s, early in 21. What occurred is that other people came and destroyed the city physically, destroying it, bombing it, getting rid of the people who live there. And that's part of what has always occurred with the pro-Americans, who of course support the idea that America is their country and they should fight any kind of way to make it happen and have a relationship with this country. Contrary or opposing that idea is Mahali. Mahali has always been about independence, not about integrating with America. On the contrary, want to move away from America and establish our own nation. Back in 1908, a community was established, the first community that was actually established, founded, that was actually financed, and of course, governed by our people. In the state of California, the very first city like that, established in the year 1908 by our people. So what do we mean by funded, governed, and established? So clearly, this was a movement that was started by a gentleman by the name of Allen Allensworth. He told people, our people, that, hey, we're going to establish our own community. We're going to have full control of it. Of course, have in mind that he was also living at the same time that Booker T. Washington was around, in Tuskegee, of course. And he was trying to do something similar like that. But of course, Booker T. Washington was really concerned about his relationship with America, with the Americans. And therefore, he relied on them. They provided the funding he needed, and he supported whatever they did. On the contrary to Allen Allensworth, who had an opposing view altogether, which he said, we can do this on our own, be dependent on ourselves as we start forming a nation, a country for our people. And they started with just a community, then became a city, and they did this by inviting people to come. And it became very, very popular. It became a discussion throughout the entire nation. That's right. People weren't talking about Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma on a national scale before it got destroyed. As Allensworth was being developed, they purchased land, outright land that was nothing on it. They had to start from scratch, and they had to build their own homes. They didn't ask anyone for money outside of their own people to build their homes. No, they didn't go to America. They didn't go to the abolitionists, all those other people. They built their own homes out of their own and financed it out of their own pockets. This is amazing that they were doing this in 1908 in California. As a matter of fact, all the financing that they did came 100% from their people. They refused to accept anyone else's money because they knew that they can control them if they took their money, and they started establishing this. By 1910, they had established communities at an enormous rate because people were just coming in. People were buying land and lots to establish their own home at such a high rate that people, when I say people, I'm talking about black people that wanted their own country, they were purchasing real estate, land basically, to build sight unseen. Before even looking at it, they already sent the money. They wanted to be part of it. And it started to grow so quickly. Within just 2 years of being founded, had already built a city square, the library, the school for their children, and many of the actual residents that's required for the people to have a home to be. This was an amazing thing. It got national attention, yes, attention from the white people in the country. And many of them got upset. They got upset because these people so rampantly in 2 years from going from scratch to building a community, it was unheard of. And they did it without the help of anyone else. They didn't ask anyone. They did it on their own. And so it caused a lot of animosity from some of the people who were part of the white community. And when I say white community, I'm referring to the entire country of America. They were getting upset all over the country. And the reason we know this is because it's all over their newspapers around the country, how they talked about the city of Allensworth. They talked about him himself and how he was a threat and a danger to all white people. So here's what happened. They all got decided in their newspapers, communicating with each other, that they were going to decide to go to Allensworth and destroy it. And the people that were taking the complete guide in terms of leading everybody to go to Allensworth to destroy it was the KKK. And they made a pledge that they set a date on this day, on this year, we're going to show up with 100,000 people to destroy your city. Well, unbeknownst to a lot of these KKK people, they did not realize the person that they were messing with was the wrong person to mess with, because Allensworth was a retired colonel of the United States Army. He not only was a retired colonel, when he was in charge of a battalion of the 20th Century Battalion in the United States Army, the people that we call the Buffalo Soldiers. That was his brigade. And when they heard that they were going to challenge him, the KKK, they got heard of that, and they decided, we're standing with our Colonel Allensworth. And they showed up, the Buffalo Soldiers. On that day, not one single KKK member showed up. That's the advantage of having the ideas and having the actual program in place to form your own country. It's something that people either hate or love. Either way, they respect it, which is not available to those who want to continue to support a nation that doesn't support them. America, does not support these people who call themselves pro-Americans. However, this is critical to understand. I just gave you a quick glimpse of what Mahali has done historically, and that's just one Mahalian and a community of Mahalians. And there are many, many more that we can go through history. All of this is authenticated through history. However, the most important thing for you to understand is this. As a Democrat, as a Republican, or even as an independent, what have you gotten in your entire lifetime from supporting these ideas that these people espouse, as opposed to Mahali and what Mahali has to offer? Not just offer, but the history of Mahali, what it has offered, what it has achieved for our people. You can't even compare them to what these pro-Americans, no matter what political party they are affiliated to, have been able to achieve. Case in point, in Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, the entire city was destroyed. That's right, black people were Republicans in the 1920s. And guess what happened? Destroyed it. Completely destroyed it. So just because you're a Democrat today, you know what the problems are with the Democratic Party. They haven't done anything great. They haven't achieved greatness for you. They've never even been able to match what one man did, Colonel Allensworth, forming a society fully financed by our people, fully developed by our people, and protected 100% by our people. How many of the communities of the African Americans were destroyed, just like Tulsa, Oklahoma was? Many. They've never been able to protect what they built. The contrary is, Mahali has always been able to preserve what they built. Meaning, Mahali's a winner. In 2023, we're going to have elections coming up. We want you to pay close attention to the candidates of the Mahali Party. They're going to be leading the way that allows us to do things that these parties are incapable of doing, and we can do it on the benefit of our people, getting things done. Right now in 2023, we're going to have elections in the state of Mississippi at the highest level of elections. That's right, at the highest level of elections. And now what I mean by that is that they're going to have elections for the state house and the state senate. Do not confuse that with the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate, which is in Washington, D.C. We're referring to the state of Mississippi, state house and state senate. These are the people that write the laws for the entire state of Mississippi. Whatever they write, the whole state has to do exactly as it said. You now have an opportunity to have an influence not just of a single city, but the entire state of Mississippi. Go to mahaliparty.org, learn about how we're doing this, get really involved with the Mahali Party, become a member, join the Mahali Party, abandon the Democratic, Republicans, and Libertarians, and even the independents who produced zero results for you, and join the party that has had a legacy. Listen to what I'm saying. A legacy of years of always winning at what they do. Join Mahali Party and let's get our nation established.